Generating a 3D environment from a 2D web page is a complex task. Certain realities must be addressed before a good set of solutions can be implemented. In this article, I will address 4 of these issues specifically and the techniques that Anarchy Arcade uses to resolve them. These techniques involve various types of parsing to understand the 2D web pages and generate coherent and functional 3D environments from them. Further considerations must be made when using these 3D environments in single and multiplayer mode. Anarchy Arcade provides 4 different types of gameplay modes, including private single-player arcades, personally hosted multiplayer arcades, community-hosted multiplayer arcades, and web-hosted arcades. Technical restrictions are not the only type of considerations that need to be made when using these types of 3D environments in a multiplayer setting. Legal restrictions, such as copyrights, also must be a primary consideration. Anarchy Arcade addresses these issues at the very core of its design. Anarchy Arcade generates these coherent and functional 3D multiplayer environments in the simplest and most adaptive ways possible. Traditional web pages are not designed to be displayed in a 3D world. In order to transform the 2D web page into a coherent 3D environment, Anarchy Arcade must be able to understand what is on the web page and extract specific information from it. This is called code parsing. For example, when a 2D browser parses the HTML code for an image on a web page, it knows that an image called mycar.jpg is supposed to be displayed there. This works great for 2D web browsers because traditional HTML code is designed to generate 2D web pages. However, Anarchy Arcade needs to generate 3D environments from traditional 2D web pages. For example, consider making a 3D environment based on DeviantArt.com. Let's think about the image search results specifically. Wouldn't it be cool if you could just tell Anarchy Arcade a search term and it automatically generates a functional 3D art gallery for you and your friends to walk around in? It is completely possible as long as Anarchy Arcade is able to parse the DeviantArt search results page and understand what is on it. There are 3 different parsing techniques that Anarchy Arcade uses to achieve this. However, certain limitations must be considered for each technique. Auto-parsing. The simplest solution would be to automatically grab every image used on the web page and put each one up on the wall of your virtual 3D art gallery. And you could grab every link used on the page and turn them into special doorways that take you to the 3D representations of other web pages. This is a very basic example of auto-parsing. It is most effective when the logic is kept simple, used carefully, and only as a last resort. The problem with auto-parsing is that 2D web pages are not designed for the 3D world. Doing something like grabbing every image used on a web page means you'll also grab things like menu icons and avatar pictures. It wouldn't make any sense to use these types of images in your 3D art gallery because you are only interested in the actual search results images. So in order to create a coherent 3D environment, Anarchy Arcade must be able to distinguish between the important images from all the other images that don't matter. The first solution that comes into my mind is only grabbing the larger images from the search results page. That way, smaller menu icons would be ignored. However, assuming that only large images are important is something that might not be true on other websites. This leads us to the site-specific custom parsing. Custom parsing, client-side. The technique of custom parsing uses logic that is specific to a particular website in order to understand what is on it. For the DeviantArt example, this makes it possible to extract only the meaningful images from the search results page and use them to generate a coherent 3D environment from them. It also makes it possible to do things like grab HD versions of the images instead of the low resolution ones, and grab the artist's name for each image, and generate a link to each artist's DeviantArt page so you could leave comments or discover more of their work. Custom parsing is extremely powerful and can be used to transform almost any 2D web page into a coherent and functional 3D environment. The issue with custom parsing is that it requires website-specific logic. Anarchy Arcade needs to be told how to understand each specific website for you to be able to use custom parsing on it. There's a lot of websites and there's no way that I could write custom parsers for all of them. To resolve this issue, Anarchy Arcade implements custom parsers as user add-on scripts. These scripts are written in standard JavaScript, a coding language that web developers are already familiar with. It provides the community with the tools needed to add custom parsers for their own favorite sites. This powerful type of support can be used to generate coherent and functional 3D versions of any 2D web page without any special considerations on the web server's end. Custom parsing, server side. However, if you run your own website and want to have more control over the type of 3D experience that your visitors have when using Anarchy Arcade, you can generate a special script file in a language that Anarchy Arcade already understands and host it on your website. It's up to you how specific you want to get when defining your 3D version of your website. It could simply be a list of items and allow Anarchy Arcade to decide how to arrange them. Or you could design every last detail of the 3D world your visitors will be exploring. Custom maps, add-on props, everything you can imagine. All served from your website to give you complete control and provide your visitors with a unique and coherent 3D environment for them to enjoy. Bringing it all together. It is important to understand that a 3D representation of a 2D web page might not need to take up the entire 3D environment that it's in. A web page might only require a single room for its 3D representation, or even just one corner of a room. The 3D environments in Anarchy Arcade often have multiple websites housed in them at the same time. In Anarchy Arcade, a 3D representation of a website is called a hub. They vary in size and design and are generated using a careful combination of the 3 parsing techniques described above. In doing this, Anarchy Arcade has addressed the 4 major issues with generating a 3D environment from a 2D web page. Issue 1. Traditional websites are not designed to be 3D environments. The solution? Parse the 2D web page and extract the important information needed to generate coherent and functional 3D environments. Issue 2. Auto-parsing can only do so much. The solution? Make careful use of auto-parsing so as not to create incoherent results. Keep the logic general and only use it as a last resort. Issue 3. Custom parsing is effective but must be designed specifically for each website. The solution? Implement custom parsers as add-on scripts so that support for new sites can be added in the future. Issue 4. It is impossible for me to create custom parsers for every website in existence. The solution? Provide the community with the tools needed for them to write their own custom parsers for their own favorite websites as user add-on scripts. Using these environments in single and multiplayer mode. Anarchy Arcade has 4 types of gameplay modes, each with the same style of user experience for a friendly and consistent feel whether you're playing single or multiplayer. Anarchy Arcade is all about you and what you like to do on your computer, so single player mode is where users are expected to start off. From there, you start to build your Anarchy Arcade media collection and venture out into multiplayer in hopes of earning big rewards and advancing your Anarchy Arcade career. Single-player arcades. These are private personal environments that are used as personal 3D desktops or media arcades. Just like all other game modes, you can spawn absolutely anything you want in your single-player arcade. This includes games, movies, YouTube videos, shortcuts to programs you have installed on your PC, family pictures from your My Pictures folder, absolutely anything. You can either keep them private for personal use only, or, if you want, you could host your personal 3D desktop in multiplayer mode and invite your friends over to explore all of your stuff right alongside you. Personally hosted multiplayer arcades. Using your personal computer no longer has to be a personal experience. In fact, depending on how awesome you are, it can be very enjoyable for your friends to come over and hang out in your personal 3D desktop. They can listen to your music with you, watch your favorite YouTube videos, check out your favorite games and movies, and watch you walk around all day from program to program as you launch the various things you use your computer for on a daily basis. Visiting your friend's personal 3D desktop is a lot like stepping inside of their head and experiencing what they like to do on their PC. And it's not a passive experience either. If your friend allows it, you can create your own little corner in his virtual world that has all your favorite stuff too. If you have a lot of friends and you're always hanging out with each other, larger community-hosted multiplayer arcades might be more your style. Community-hosted multiplayer arcades. These are dedicated servers aimed at providing an enjoyable experience for an entire community of players rather than just a handful of friends. Anybody can set up a dedicated server for their community and customize the experience that it provides. Since these types of arcades are geared towards larger groups, they contain media items and shortcuts that have a broad appeal to their community rather than files that are spawned from somebody's personal documents folder. However, just like every other gameplay mode, you can fully customize your community server however you wish. You can set it up to always have the latest news, videos, and images related to your community, or allow your community members to each customize their own portion of the community server. As the server admin, you are in complete control over the experience your community members will have in your arcade. Web-hosted arcades. If you have your own website and want to deliver a customized experience to your Anarchy Arcade visitors, you can generate and host a special script file on your server that does exactly that. Web-hosted arcades are very much like community-hosted arcades, except that they do not require any actual game server. Web-hosted arcades can be accessed by Anarchy Arcade users simply by typing your website's address and pressing enter. Users can either browse the 3D version of your site in single-player mode, or host their own multiplayer arcade where they can invite their friends to join them. Just like all other gameplay modes, you can customize your web-hosted arcade however you like. You can even set up your web server to dynamically update your arcade so it always has the most recent posts and information. Consistent multiplayer experience. When you are in a multiplayer arcade, you want your friends to see everything the exact same way that you do. You want them to see the same pictures on the walls, the same games in the cabinets, and the same movies on the screen. And you want them to be able to play any game and watch every movie that's in there, exactly as if they were with you in your real-life house playing on your computer. This type of truly consistent multiplayer experience would only be possible through the use of two very important features, screen sharing and peer-to-peer file sharing. Unfortunately, implementing either of these two features would require Anarchy Arcade to impose extensive restrictions and user moderation over the community to prevent copyright violations from running rampant. I do not wish to impose restrictions or extensive user moderation over the Anarchy Arcade community, so Anarchy Arcade does not have either of these important features in its design. There's nothing illegal about either of these two very powerful technologies, but it is simply a design decision to leave them out to ensure that users have absolute freedom over what they do in Anarchy Arcade. Anarchy Arcade is not screen sharing or peer-to-peer file sharing software. Instead, it has been designed to give the illusion of these two very important multiplayer features without opening itself up to the exploits that they are normally accompanied by. It is designed from the ground up for you to use and share your copyrighted material in a legal way. This is best illustrated with a few specific examples. YouTube restrictions. Let's say that you're hosting your personal arcade in multiplayer mode and invite a friend over to check out your stuff. So you're showing your friend around and you click on a YouTube video that you have placed on the wall. You expect that you'll both be able to watch the video together in the virtual world right on the wall at the same time, just like you're standing together in real life. And in Anarchy Arcade, that's exactly what's going to happen most of the time. However, some videos that are legal for you to watch in your region of the world are illegal for people to watch in other regions. You may have experienced this yourself when browsing youtube.com in your standard web browser, clicking on a video only to see the words, "This video is not available in your country." Region restrictions are just one of the types of legal and copyright restrictions that youtube.com automatically implements to prevent copyright violations from running rampant. Anarchy Arcade has been designed not to break YouTube's copyright restrictions. This compatibility is implemented at a basic level and extends to other sites and services such as Netflix, Hulu, Vimeo, and more. For this reason, it is possible that your friend will not be able to watch that particular YouTube video with you in Anarchy Arcade, and instead would see YouTube's standard, "This video is not available in your country." In order to legally watch this video together with your friend, you'll have to be standing together in the same real-life room. Sorry. Multiplayer and games. Let's say that your friend loved that YouTube video and then sees your Goat Simulator cabinet over in the corner, runs up to it and clicks play. You expect that he'll be able to jump right into Goat Simulator and start wreaking havoc on all things edible. And once again, in Anarchy Arcade, that's exactly what's going to happen if your friend has access to the game. It doesn't matter if you own it on Steam while they bought it from a DRM-free bundle. The same cabinet can launch the game for either of you. However, there's always the chance that your friend doesn't have access to that specific game, especially if your media collection is much larger than theirs. Anarchy Arcade has something to help them out with that too. When you try to launch a game that you don't yet have access to, Anarchy Arcade automatically generates a list of links to your own favorite places to get the game from. It will take you directly to your favorite site's search result page for the game you're looking for. With Anarchy Arcade, you don't have to start using some strange site you've never even heard of before. It's built to be useful, not to sell you crap you don't want to buy from stores you don't want to shop at. Anarchy Arcade assists you as you continue to use the sites that you know and trust. Multiplayer and local movie files. In Anarchy Arcade, you are able to play movie files from your own PC on the in-game virtual screens. However, special multiplayer considerations must be made because Anarchy Arcade is not screen sharing or peer-to-peer file sharing software. It seems like it would be nearly impossible to accomplish any sort of consistent multiplayer experience without these two very important technologies, but Anarchy Arcade does provide a general solution to the issue. First, it is important to remember that the items spawned in Anarchy Arcade are cross-compatible, even if you and your friend got the media from different sources. This means that a local movie file for you might be a Netflix movie when your friend watches it. In this case, you and your friend might end up watching slightly different versions of the same movie, but the illusion still holds true and gives the feeling of truly consistent multiplayer without the use of file sharing or screen sharing. This same type of support also works for the scenario of you and your friend both playing your own local copies of a movie file. And remember, Anarchy Arcade can help you get movies that you don't yet have access to from your own favorite sites and services, just like it does with games. Over-the-shoulder spectating. Users have repeatedly requested to be able to stand behind one of their friends in the virtual world and watch their friend play the game live as it happens, directly on the in-game cabinet. This is exactly the type of thing that screen sharing software is perfect for, so it was a challenge to figure out an alternative solution that Anarchy Arcade would be able to implement. It finally dawned on me that game streaming services such as Twitch already have their own copyright mechanisms in place, and it would be possible for me to implement general support for these types of sites and services without having to impose my own restrictions upon Anarchy Arcade users. The next day, over-the-shoulder spectating was implemented into Anarchy Arcade. Remember that Anarchy Arcade itself is not screen sharing software. However, it is able to watch video streams. So as long as your friend knows how to broadcast to a Twitch channel, you'll be able to stand behind him and watch him play live right over his shoulder. And this functionality is implemented in such a general way that it doesn't have to be Twitch. It could be any other service such as Hitbox or YouTube. From complex technologies to simplified user experience. Anarchy Arcade uses a very careful mixture of all of these powerful technologies behind the scenes in order to provide a simple and consistent user experience. How do you launch something in Anarchy Arcade? You walk up to it and click play. Regardless of what it is, where it's at, what mode you're in, or whether or not you even have access to it, you just walk up to something you want to play and click play. The various parsing techniques are used behind the scenes to generate coherent and functional 3D environments from 2D web pages that the community loves, with full user add-on support so Anarchy Arcade can become even more powerful and friendly as time goes on. Anarchy Arcade avoids restrictions and extensive user moderation by avoiding the use of screen sharing and peer-to-peer file sharing technologies. Instead, it gives the illusion of these very important features through various tricks and techniques. It's all a lot of simple tricks and nonsense, but in the end, it gives the feel of a truly consistent multiplayer experience. All of Anarchy Arcade's features carry over gracefully from single player into various multiplayer modes, always providing a consistent user experience. In conclusion, these are only some of the many techniques, technologies, and design decisions that make it possible for Anarchy Arcade to provide all of the functionality that it does, without falling into the pitfalls that so many other programs have fallen into in the past. Many of these features are demonstrated in the playable prototype of Anarchy Arcade that you could try out for yourself today. Anarchy Arcade has already been greenlit and will be released on Steam, but it can only be fully realized with the help of the community it is designed to support. So if Anarchy Arcade interests you, help it come onto Steam full force, ASAP, jam-packed with these and tons of other great features that set it apart from all the competition. Check out the Anarchy Arcade website at anarchyarcade.com and tell your friends about the Kickstarter.